Here.
Mr. Griffin?
Here.
Mr. Miko, he is on his way. Ms. Stachek?
Here.
And Mrs. Hausum.
Here.
And for the record, Mrs. Bissell is running the meeting due to Mrs. Hausum's laryngitis.
Thank you, George. Can you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have some special guests here with us tonight, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Iba.
Thank you, Mrs. Bissell. We started this last year, right, as a new tradition of having our middle school chamber strings come and provide some wonderful music to showcase their talents for us. So I am going to turn it over to Ms. Bravo to get us going into some holiday cheer. have them hang out for a second? I don't know. Is it on? There you go. So I just want to, can you guys hear me okay now? All right. I just want to share how awesome that was. You know, as I think about the work that we do, our teachers do from 5th grade on up to 12th grade, you are the reason why our high school orchestra sounds like a professional orchestra, is because you're doing the work from such a young age and so talented already. And so we all understand the work that you put in to practice. Some of you may take private lessons to do the work to come out here and perform. And so I just want to share with you, my favorite piece of all night was the Ding Dong Merrily on High. Right? The reason it was my favorite piece is because it was really hard. It was a stretch piece for you guys. You had so much stuff going on. And a little bit, it was getting a little off there for a little bit. But what I loved about it is you came back together. Nobody freaked out. You stuck with it. You kept your eye on your director of where the cues were to come in. And you got to the end, and I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. And I wouldn't have, yeah, give him a round of applause. So yeah, your teacher threw a curveball at you, right? You weren't expecting that one in the list, but you guys were just phenomenal. And I know your parents and your family are proud of you, and so are all of us. So thank you for spending the evening with us and making this meeting truly one of the special meetings we have each year. All right, thanks everyone. I've got it back up. Don't worry about it.
All right, thanks again to our Chamber Strings. It's a wonderful group, and that's an audition-only group, and they get up bright and early on Wednesday and Friday mornings and practice from 7 to 7:50 a.m. So kudos to them for their hard work and their great performance tonight. The next item on our agenda today is a bittersweet moment. We're going to do some board and member appreciation. We do have 2 outgoing board members we'd like to celebrate tonight. So on behalf of the entire Board of Education, we extend our heartfelt thanks to Haley for her 4 years of dedicated service on the Board of Education, and to Kevin for stepping in so willingly during a time of transition. Both have generously given their time, energy, and care to support our students, staff, and community. Their thoughtful perspective, steady presence, and genuine commitment have made a meaningful difference. We are truly grateful for all they have contributed, and we look forward to continuing to work with them both as we move forward together and strive to make our district the very best it can be. So thank you to Haley and to Kevin, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Iba.
Yeah, on behalf of our district administration and teachers and staff, as Michelle said, just a heartfelt thank you. Haley, it's been an absolute joy to get to know you over the past 4 years. I can't say it publicly, but we know who my favorite board member was. It was, but you know, one of the things that I just wanted to share, your just natural joy of being around kids. You know, the Extra Mile Award that you brought to our district, and just the work that you did to make their life a little bit brighter, to celebrate them. Those were the moments that you were truly you, and I truly valued you bringing that to the district and always looking what's in the best interest of our kids, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kevin, you've only been here for a short, well, we've known each other for a long time. You've been a great district partner for a long time. You know, but one of the things that I truly believe is that whenever we enter a place, we always try to make it a little bit better. And so in just a short period of time, I want to tell you, you've made our place a lot better. Your leadership, your direction, your clarity has not only had an impact on the work that we're doing, but an impact on me as a leader as well. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So as a token of our appreciation, you now have an official, who doesn't need another water bottle,
there
right?
you go. That's right.
Official water bottle to remind you of your time and years with us. Yes. So if we could all give Kevin and Haley a round of applause of our appreciation for their service. Thank you.
Thanks again. It is time in our agenda for public comment, and I do have one slip today. Mrs. Sharon Kilbane, if you could step up to the podium here, state your name and address, please, although we know you, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Shouldn't I? 13055 Chasemore Drive, Strongsville, Ohio. And you are? Oh, Sharon Kilbane. I came tonight to surprise Haley. I just couldn't let this meeting go. A wise person told me that God never does just one thing. And 4 years ago, I felt like the Lord really wanted me to be here. And that is when Haley and I became friends, ran together, and whatever good or bad I've done, God will judge me on that one. But meeting you and getting to know you, Haley, has been an honor, and everything that Cameron said is so true. I loved executive sessions to hear about all of your animals that you saved. And I mean, I just admire you, and I love you, and I know that your parents are looking down on you today, and they're very, very proud of you. So saying that, I got you some stuff. Oh, and Kevin, thank you for taking my place. I've heard so many nice things about you. I didn't want to be remiss and not mention that. So to you, Haley, we'll be friends forever, but I just wanted this night to be special for you. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
I did not anticipate crying tonight, but any means.
Merry Christmas.
This is not how I saw any of this going. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
It's a privilege to be a part of a special moment like this. You guys see us do all the official business most of the time, and what you don't see is all the relationships that we build. And Sharon, thank you for being here and giving a glimpse to those who are watching of what it's like, the other part, besides the business. We get to know each other. We spend a lot of time together, and it, you know, there's grief involved here. So we are grateful for all of you who have participated tonight and for all the work that you've done. Next item on our agenda tonight is the approval of minutes. We have two sets. There's a motion to approve the minutes of the November 13th, 2025 Special Board of Education meeting. That will be on the consent calendar, along with a motion to approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2025 regular Board of Education meeting. All audio recordings of that meeting will be part of permanent record and available upon request through the Treasurer's Office. Video recordings shall be maintained based on the availability of the selected digital online platform. Item E of the agenda tonight is Board of Education Other, and we have two significant items to discuss. The first one of those is the bond project, and I'm very grateful that Cameron's going to lead that discussion tonight.
Okay, so if you're on your agenda, you can click on the link that says bond project discussion. That is the process that we're going to go through tonight. So as we click on that and get settled, the process is this. As George has shared in January, to be on the May 2026 ballot in January, there needs to be 2 votes. The board has yet to determine what our meeting dates are, but if they're the same, it's going to be January 8th and January 22nd. By the time we get to January 8th, George has to have a clear number of what is going to be in the bond project so that we could look at how much money the project would cost, and the board on January 8th could vote on the first resolution to approve a bond that would have that exact figure. So that's the timeline we're working backwards from. So we've had many discussions over the months about different aspects of the project. So we've laid them out all in one document and put down kind of some of the decisions that are there. So if we start, we're going to start with step 1, which is the preschool. And so I'm not going to read all of these questions to you, as I know the board has had an opportunity to preview it, but just some questions to consider with regard to the preschool project. We've highlighted decisions that need to be made. If we're taking a look at what that project would be, an estimated timeline, as well as costs, and then there's a linked resource which breaks down all of the costs that are there. So the first part we're going to do today is to start with a board discussion on the preschool, and really we have 1 of 2 decisions to make. Either Moraski Elementary School will be a standalone preschool, we talked about this last meeting, or it will be a combined preschool and admin offices. And so there's some questions to consider there about the benefits of the Moraski site, benefits of combined, as well as being a standalone. What we would like to do tonight holistically as we look at it is if there's something we have consensus on, that we just say, hey, here's the decision. Let's put it on there. We'll put it on the chart which tabulates the funds, and we will be able to put that one aside to say we've made a decision on that. If there's something where you say we just need more time to process this, to think about that, that's okay. We can talk, discuss, get some thoughts down, and then process and come back. The board has opportunities to come back if they would want to at another meeting prior to January 8th to have those discussions. So with that, Ms. Bissell, I'll turn it back over to you to get the discussion started with the board in terms of standalone preschool at Moraski or a combined preschool admin office.
Thank you, Dr. Riva. We have had a couple of discussions about this particular issue already. Does anyone want to share their kind of thoughts as to what they've come to? And I know last time we talked about this, I think there was a lot of favor on just having Moraski be the preschool site. Does anyone want to?
Since then, we've got numbers that build the admin building behind the current admin building.
Okay, and Laura shared that since then we've received numbers, financial numbers about building an admin building on our current admin building site, building it behind. So that we have started to explore that option as well.
So if we take a look at that together, the combined project was originally estimated around $18 million. If we separate them out into 2 projects, it will be less than that. So there was not a cost savings by putting them as a combination. And a lot of the pros that the board shared last time was in terms of a central location for preschool, since we capture students from all over the city. And, 50% of our students or more are students with disabilities and are 3 to 4 to 5 years old, as well as using a building that was just renovated or a new addition in 2005 to capture that for new facilities. So those were some of the positives that were shared last time.
Haley, Kevin, any feedback on this particular portion?
Relative to the new construction of the preschool as a standalone, I like that idea. And I think we had a good conversation at our last meeting regarding a location for the administrative building between a lease and a build. And I thought we leaned more towards a lease option in the short term. So I like the notion of a standalone preschool at Moraski, where Moraski is today.
Thank you. Richard, anything?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm advocating for. I think separating the admin building makes logical sense. Repurposing Moraski as a special needs preschool, we do have space issues, and I think it will allow us to build an ideal location primarily for the preschool and address a lot of the logistical concerns. So I'm comfortable, as far as my 2 cents is concerned, moving forward that Moraski should become the home of the new special needs preschool, and that would be all we would do there. The other part of the discussion that we had, the financial impact, we need to make a decision about elementary facilities and special needs. That one's critical. We still have the time to determine what's the best financial decision for the admin building. We will have to do that, but it is not as, right now it is not a, every day is wasting priority. So I'm comfortable with that decision. And then when the time is right and we have enough information about the benefits of lease versus build, we'll be able to make that decision.
Anyone have a differing opinion on this? Cameron, I think you have your direction on this one.
Okay. So if we scroll down to step 2, I'm going to take a little bit more time to go through this because it's a little denser of information on this part of it. So this is where we look at, okay, we know coming out of this bond, there's 2 things that we have to do. We have to address preschool, which we just did, and we have to address our future elementary considerations. So what I think would be best is if we start with the table that's there in the middle of the page. So we've spent a lot of time talking about the yellow plan. Again, it's always good to level set. We had a committee that met for almost a year, if not more, recommended the yellow plan, which is building 3 new elementary schools that would be around 700 students, as well as renovating Kinsner, which would be around 500 students to house 2,600 students. We took that plan and we had a town hall meeting. They shared similar feedback of support of the yellow plan. We looked at all of these plans again. We had the main group got together a second time. They supported the yellow plan again. And then we sent out a survey to our families saying, hey, between the yellow plan and the orange plan, and I'll talk about the orange in a second, where do you stand? There was still more support for the yellow plan, saying if we were going to go for the orange plan, it would be for efficiency and things of that nature. However, I think it's a good opportunity once again to say, as we've looked at the plans from 1 building all the way on up to replicating what we have now of 5 buildings, the feedback has been, we understand having buildings that are home to 500 students is not what's done anymore. That's not efficient, right? That's too small. And having 1 building or 2 buildings for 2,600 students is just way too large for our community and for just elementary students as a whole. So that's where the 3 buildings, 4 buildings has kind of been suited as a part of the conversation. So we need to touch base on that again as to make sure which direction we want to go. So if we just go down and look at the differences between the yellow plan and the orange plan, and we take a look at the number of buildings, as I said, the yellow plan is 3 new buildings and 1 renovating Kinsner. The orange plan is 2 new buildings, and that takes your enrollment from in that building to be estimated around 1,050 students. And then the Kinsner renovation would still be home to 500 students. If we take a look at building locations, the yellow plan has identified that the old Albion site, Chapman and Sarrar, would be home to those 3 new schools, and Kinsner would be Kinsner. If we take a look at the new construction site, Albion would be home to 1 of the schools, and you'd have to choose between Chapman or Sarar, or I didn't put it on the list, but we do have Allen as a vacant property that is large enough to be home to one of these buildings. The one thing that you have to take into consideration is as you take a look at the building of 1,000 students, the estimates from the architects are you are going to want about 20 acres. Albion property is about 22 acres. Allen property is about 16 acres. Every other property is about 10 to 12 acres. So looking at those building locations, not saying you can't build them there, but you'd have to look at how many floors those buildings would have to be to make it fit in that piece of property. If you take a look at grade level configurations, the yellow plan, all 4 buildings would be K-5 elementary schools. You do have some options with the orange plan. They could all be K-5. There would be some equity questions about Kinsner being 500 students, still kind of that neighborhood feel, and then other 2 buildings over 1,000. So if there were concerns by the board from that, you could have the option to look at having Kinsner be a kindergarten-only building, and then the 2 new builds would be grades 1 to 5. Looking at the project timeline, we've talked about the yellow plan project timeline. If the bond passes in May, it's about a 3-year build, so design build. So the buildings would be open in fall of 2029. The projects would be completed in 2030. The Kinsner renovation would start a year later and be open fall of 2030. Similar plan for the orange plan. The other thing that's down there in purple, and I believe we talked about it last meeting, is there is an oil line that is going through catty corner through the back of the property. As of right now, we have not been able to come to consensus with the folks that own that line about relocating it or moving it. So if you go with the yellow plan, the choice that you have is you just have to phase the project. What we mean by that is you would build the new building on the Albion site and the Chapman site. You would open those buildings and you would redistrict and assign the students to their school. You would assign students that were at Sarar. We would keep Whitney open, and the students would go to Whitney, and then you demolish what is currently Sarar and build in that same area. That would avoid going on that line if we couldn't move it. If we can move it, then we're okay. You could see in the 3rd column over, if we delay that project to meet that timeline, you're going to add about $2.5 million to the project just because of, it's the same project, it's just 3 years later, the costs are going to be higher. That's all that is. If you go with the the orange plan in the middle column, you can avoid that, right? Because you could build on Albion and Chapman or Albion and Allen. Or if you still wanted to have a school in that ward of the city, you would have to delay the same as we just shared for that plan. So if you're someone like me and want to see the end in mind, what are some decisions that we have to start to make so we can finalize what's going to be on the bond? You could see the first thing is we've got to decide whether or not we're going to go with the yellow plan or the orange plan. Going to the last column, we'd have to decide do we want every building to be K-5 or do we want to do a kindergarten only at Kinsner and a 1 to 5 in the other buildings? And then finally, the middle column is no matter what, Kinsner is going to be open and it's going to be in some form of a school, whether K-5 or K. And we wanted to ensure that there was some equity between that and all of the other schools. Do we want to go with infrastructure only? Or do we want to add some enhancements that mirror what is being done in the new builds? And so those are some decisions that we need to make. Looking at the cost, just so everybody's aware, the project cost is just actually that. It's the project cost of what is being estimated to build these buildings in the next 3 years total. That is to build the buildings and to demolish and abate the ones that were currently on the property. And you can see for the yellow plan, it's about $133 million. There's a 2.5% contingency figured into all of these all of these projects, so you could see that's another 3.3, which gives you a total of the yellow plan, which is the 4 elementaries, including the renovation. That's just the 3 new elementary schools. That is $136 million. Same idea for the Orange Plan. The Orange Plan total to build the 2 new buildings plus any abatement and demo is $115 million. The asterisk there is a POR means a program of requirements. That means we've gone through and vetted every single space that we think we are going to need. We have just made estimates. So for example, what this means is we said, here's how much of 700, here's the square footage a 700 student building needs to have. Based on our program of requirements and design, we were a 5.6% above that. So we took the square footage that would be needed for a 1,050 student building and added 5.6% to that. So the orange and the yellow are an apples to apples comparison, but we haven't done the full POR process. And lastly, with Kinsner, you could see the project. The total cost of the project there is $5.5 million. About $1 million of that project are enhancements to 5,000 square foot of the building to mirror some of the enhancements we're going to do in the other part. So if you would say infrastructure only, based on what we have right now, you would reduce that price by about $1 million. That's a lot of information to share. Before we start the discussion, any clarifying questions on the data or information that's there? So what we would like to do first is have a discussion about, the pros and cons of the rows that are there, the buildings, building locations, grade level, project timeline, et cetera. And we want to think about this through the lens of when we talk about pros and cons, what is the educational impact to our students, right? We want to think about it of equity. We've talked about that already. Efficiency in operations, operational considerations from the site to traffic to busing to all of those things that go on in place there. Long-term flexibility, and I ran out of room to keep it on all on one line. So neighborhoods, meaning the yellow plan keeps a school in each one of our wards, right? Each kind of corner of the city. The orange plan will not. So we've got to think of the pros and cons of having that or not having that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Bissell.
I do have one clarifying question. The dollar amounts here do not include Muraski. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, we've taken Muraski and put that just in the first step.
Category. Yep. Thank you. All right. Who would like to start? There's a lot to consider here. I'll offer something that's 2 things that are concerning to me. Cameron, do we have a timeline of when we will know what the options are for the pipeline? Because I feel like I don't know how we're supposed to make a decision if we don't know what options are available.
We've got some movement in the last couple days, so I'm hopeful Hal Kendrick, who's our interim operations manager, is on top of it. So with our lawyer, they're working. So I'm hopeful that before winter break, we'll have some guidance. I've asked for a very technical over/under. So, what's the likelihood that they're going to move this thing? So hopefully within the next week or so, we'll start to get a little clarity.
Okay. Thank you. And the other thing that I just thought was really interesting that we heard this morning on the call with GPD was that in order to do a building of 1,000 students, they're recommending 20 acres, correct? Mm-hmm. Sarar and Chapman are almost half of that. I'm having trouble getting past that because I know we've had, at Sarar specifically, we've had community members reach out to us already with concerns about building the building closer to the properties, whether it's going to be several stories high. And now if we could be potentially talking about building a 3-story building back in Sarar, not to mention the traffic problems. They're currently having traffic issues on all the streets surrounding Sarar because of just the little bit of increase with the increasing the busing mileage. They're already having more problems. This worries me about trying to squeeze a building of 1,000 onto that property. So that's, if I can't make that math.
So just to kind of give a visual, everybody knows, where we're at right now is 20 acres. And this building has 12 to 1,300 kids in it. So gives you, you would be cutting it in half. This is 20 acres. Yeah, this property's 20 acres. Sarar's 10.9 acres. Albion's old property is 21.2. Yeah, Chapman is 9.8.
And Cameron, that includes the football field and track? Here?
Everything, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's all in, that's 20 acres, okay. So Michelle, I agree with your, so I think the question that is being called is, what can the community support? So if we just kind of get the brass tacks, and obviously there's benefit of having a deep conversation on this, I think we would all prefer to have, let me speak for myself, I'd prefer to have our current situation where we have our neighborhood schools, the right size that we think is appropriate and what we are used to here in Strongsville and what we think is most appropriate for educating our students as we go through the future. But what I don't know if I have enough information on today is will the community support the yellow plan? My sense is, based on all the conversation and data that we have, is that is probably not going to happen. And so the orange plan is our compromise. And since our feet are to the fire, we need to make a decision. I think that's the plan that will get support, the broadest level of support, so we can actually move on and not be sitting here a year from now still having the same conversation. But I don't think any of us feel great about it.
Do you think that this new information, as far as I know, we were made aware of it today, so the community doesn't know that? They don't know what the recommended, but do you think that has any impact? No?
I mean, I'm just speaking in generalities. I
Sure,
don't know if they care. I think our parents care.
Yeah.
I think some folks care.
I just wonder if the surrounding neighbors care and how far does that reach go?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that part on the impact of the local community, particularly the neighbors who are adjacent to those buildings, absolutely, they'll care. Yeah.
Yeah.
But can we garner enough support to pass the yellow plan? I think all the conversations and data we have today say no. And I really want to be wrong. Really want to be wrong. Anybody?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the one thing that, so it's good that we're having the discussion, and I think we ought to telegraph right now we're going to have more discussion, right? I don't think we're going to be able to come to a conclusion on these issues today. I think we need more discussion. But I also think there's a lot of action towards this idea of what will the community support. And so having that discussion of 2 schools versus 3 schools is healthy and warranted, but I think we need to highlight some of the consequences. The statement that, you just look at the numbers, 136 million versus 115, that's very attractive. But when you then add in the fact that to save that approximately $20 million, there are some, what I would think are going to be buyer's remorse consequences to that plan. I look at, we've discussed the 20 acres. And at the end of the day, you can make it fit however we decide we want it to make it fit, but it is going to be a consequence, right? It's going to be a consequence to 30 years of educating children in that building. When we take a look at the 4-letter word in Strongsville is traffic. I don't know how we make, how we address the negative consequence on traffic to having the 2 schools. The only, the main thoroughfares in the city are Pearl and Royalton. So if we're going to talk about that kind of consolidation, Webster's 2-lane road. All the elementary schools are 2-lane roads. And we're now going to try to get over 1,000 students into that. And that become, and again, you can be cavalier about it and say, well, it's only twice a day and it's not during rush hour, et cetera. But if you think about the hot button issues in Strongsville, traffic is the 4-letter word. And that plan has that consequence. The other one that I was thinking about in the last week is we have a strong push, and it's a logical, good push to make the city walkable, to increase the ability for everyone to have sidewalks. And in my mind, if that's a value, and it is a value, 2 schools versus 3 schools, we're going to be busing the majority of our elementary schools. So that's just a consequence that we need to think about and come to some conclusion about. But I think instead of trying to figure out, what will the community support, maybe we spend some time figuring out what are the consequences and characteristics of the different plans, and making sure we have that healthy dialogue with the public, and then we can be a little more informed and not just be trying to say, hey, these are all Hobson's choices. Because we've been around this, and we have the benefit and the downside of having discussed this for 3 years. And people are going to keep on coming to this conversation over and over again. So I think it's healthy and I think it's worthwhile, and I'm willing to have the conversation over and over again, because I think if you take the time to go through the details, the answers become not so much what is someone going to support. It's like, oh yeah, that's not going to be a workable decision. It makes sense. It makes sense if all I'm doing is Legos and trying to fit things in. But when I actually think through it all and work through it, I think the yellow plan is that balanced plan, and we need to have the ability to have the conversation, to build the support, and to help people understand why the orange plan doesn't. I don't think it works in the sense that it forces compromises that I don't think we want to make. I think I've said enough.
If I may, Madam President, Madam Vice President, I'd like to just talk on a few of the points that Mr. Griffin and Mr. Micko brought up. First of all, Mr. Griffin, you spoke about the neighborhood impacts and the community members that we have that will be directly impacted by the schools. And I can say, when I was out campaigning this past year, especially in the Meadowwood community, there were multiple neighborhood members that were especially concerned about how tall the school building was going to be, how large it was going to be. Were we going to do anything aesthetic-wise as far as any type of molehill or trees or anything like that to kind of offset the building being right back in their backyard? And speaking with other residents of other neighboring communities where there's schools right in the backyard, Bent Tree, for example, they had those same concerns. And while at least with Chapman, you have kind of that hill that goes up and you have that big grassy area, so there is room between the neighborhood homes and the school, you don't necessarily get that with Sarar. And so I see where those points are valid, and where if we interact directly with those community members and maybe don't necessarily nickel and dime and show them exactly every single thing that we have planned for that school, but at least give them an idea as to where it's going to be located in relation to their homes and what it's going to look like, I feel like that will help relinquish some of those concerns that they have. And as far as Mr. Micko, what you were saying with the best economic plan, I would really recommend, if not, I mean, honestly, please reach out to the mayor's office. Please reach out to the economic development director, our service director, and our city engineer and assistant city engineer. They do a great job here at the city of Strongsville. And honestly, if we're looking at economical choices and what the options are with traffic and whether we can increase road sizes, what we can do to help with that walkability, what we can do to help with those traffic issues, they're going to be the experts who will be able to sit down and tell us what we truly can and cannot do. They're the ones who maintain the roads, especially, please talk with our service director. He has a great team back there in the service department, and we know right now, even today, for example, we had snow coming down, and those service department guys were out there plowing the streets. They can give us a real idea as to what they're capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing. Same with our city engineering office. They're going to be able to tell us what we can do as far as streets and what we can't do as far as streets. What some people don't realize is that we do have county roads here in Strongsville. And unfortunately, while the city would like to expand them and would like to add additional lanes, that all needs to go through Cuyahoga County. So it's not just something as simple as council voting on it and putting it through. It actually needs to go through Cuyahoga County. So it's a lot more of a strenuous process than people realize. So please, I implore you, if you haven't reached out to them to get their input as to whether the orange plan is more economical or the yellow plan, please, I'm more than happy to assist in any way, but I think that that is at least a good starting off point if we haven't done that, to figure out what the city can handle and what the city cannot handle. Thank you.
I have two clarifying questions, Cameron. What's our current kindergarten enrollment and/or projected?
If you want to go to your second question, and I can
Sure.
pull that up.
Michelle, can you,
We're having trouble hearing
Oh,
you
I'm
on the
sorry.
side.
I'll
when you
make-
don't face us or forward, we
can't
can't
hear.
hear you or anybody.
I recall this from the high school being a problem as well. The other question is the Allen property. Is that the one in Hunting Meadows? Where is the?
It's off of Shermer.
When you turn that way, we can't hear anything you say.
Is that better?
Make eye
Thank
contact
you.
with
Yeah,
us.
there you go, there you go.
Really enunciate, we'll read lips.
See, we have a problem. I can't solve it. Sorry, guys.
Just yell.
So those are the two questions. Yes, that one's off of Shermer.
It's
So
on
that
Park
is the one
Lane,
I'm
yeah.
thinking of. Okay,
Yeah.
so that one is completely surrounded by neighborhood, correct?
Yes, it's all of the properties are within neighborhoods, so it's still surrounded by neighbors. Yeah.
So one way in, one way out there as well?
Currently, yes.
So that's, okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you take a look at all these properties, there could be opportunities my direction is off, but on one side of the Allen property, there's a walking path. There's a little bit of width there. There might be an opportunity. I don't know what that street is up there, but there are some opportunities for possibly exploring multiple entrances and exits to the building.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think practically if we're talking about the orange plan.
Yeah, and currently our kindergarten enrollment's 315, and then it's projected to be on average around 330s moving forward.
So it would be not full capacity at Kinsner is what I'm thinking if you did a kindergarten building.
Well, if you went to a kindergarten center, you would take a look at it, again, by memory. A lot of, outside of the kindergarten rooms, those rooms are about 850 to 900 square foot a room. Most kindergarten rooms are 1,200 square feet, so some of the renovation could be possibly taking each one of those corridors and expanding them to, you could lose a few rooms in there, or you could recapture the space for different purposes that are there. So it could be a few empty rooms, or it could be used in different ways.
Thank you. I was just thinking about practically with the orange plan. The two biggest properties we own and could build on are the Albion and Allen.
Correct, yeah.
And then you'd end up with both sites east of Pearl Road.
Correct.
That gives me pause too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the orange plan and saying, yes, I hear you, Kevin, and I worry about the community support, but I look at the orange plan options and I'm struggling.
So, George, not to put you on the spot, what is the difference of that $20 million delta in terms of, with the millage where it sits, how much a homeowner, an average price homeowner would pay, an average value home, I should say, would pay in a year?
Give me a few minutes. So just looking at the chart that was provided, us, 20 million is not there, but if I take the delta between 85 million and if I take the delta between an $85 million bond issue versus 105, the delta there would be for 37 years, 85 would be $67 to $71 per 100,000 versus 105 would be between 82 to 88, so somewhere between about $15 to $16 a year per 100,000. And then 20 million in principal divided by 37 years of a bond issue. It's about 500,000 a year, not counting any interest. So whatever the interest rate would be, based on some of these calculations, it's in the range of 4.8% to 5.5.
So just, I want to make sure I heard you right. $15 per year per $100,000
Correct.
a year?
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to have a rational conversation about something that is highly irrational for some people, and that's our problem. I'm only here for one more meeting, so I can say what I want at this point.
The one thing, again, just looking at the property, I think if you take a look at the Allen property and looking at putting another school in a neighborhood, I would say the one difference of the Allen property is the properties are longer. So when you look at the Sherrard properties, their backyards are right up against the school property. Same for the Allen, but they have much longer backyards, so it's not like the back of their house would be, 100 feet away from the school.
But I would like to compliment you, Kevin, because I think that's the thought process that people need to be allowed to and encouraged to go through when they're saying we're not going to support this versus that. It's like going to a store and saying I'm not going to buy that, but I'll buy this, and you haven't actually looked at what the costs are and what the costs mean.
Both the cost and the opportunity cost, right? Like, we're going to sit in traffic for a lot longer, right? All the other things that we got to figure out.
If we go to the department store and say I want to buy schools, and you just look at numbers, well, which one do you support? You make a quick and easy answer. But if we take the time to have that complete conversation, you find out that, for whatever reason, either things don't fit, things don't match, or what I think is important, I think when you go through the process, you say, you know what, I want to invest in this. We're going to have to come up, you already said it, we're going to have to come up with a better name than the yellow plan.
We have to rebrand these. Yeah.
But the point is that asking those questions is important, and for us to earn the vote, the support of the voter, we're gonna go through those questions and be able to answer them over and over again, and that'll be healthy and good.
To Mr. Micko's point, if I may, I actually ran some very rough estimate numbers based on the housing values in Strongsville and based on different millage amounts that may be proposed tonight. And taking a look, so as of Q4 2025, our median housing value here in Strongsville is $350,000. I think we all are aware that 44149 was just rated number 6 in the country as one of the hottest housing markets. So of course that's going to have effect on our housing values, but in a good way. If we take a look at our housing values, and if we take a look at our 35% that Cuyahoga County uses as its basis for our taxable assessed value, looking at mill bond options between 5.5 to 10.5 millage, for a $350,000 house, it is less than a Starbucks cup of coffee. Now, I know that I can afford to refrain from an extra Starbucks cup of coffee a day, a week, and I feel fairly comfortable in saying that my board up here will probably say the same, although some of you might be tea drinkers. But when we're looking at opportunity cost here, if we can refrain from on a 10.5 mil bond, $3.52 a day in savings, that gets us our bond, that gets us our new buildings. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, that even if we're looking at the varying millage options that we may be faced tonight, when we look at the actual cost per day, it is minuscule in what we are going to be financing for our future and for our children. And that's something that we need to keep in our mind with our decisions tonight, and that the voters need to keep in mind. Because again, if we're looking at $10.5 million for a $350,000 valuation, it's $3.52 a day. That's a cup of coffee, that's a cup of tea, that's maybe one less lottery ticket or one less buy at Target. That is an amazing opportunity cost to ensure that our future here in Strongsville is taken care of and we can maintain our great school system that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Anyone else have something to contribute? I mean, I think this is going as we expected. Dr. Ribas, we're not quite ready to give
Sure.
final direction on this.
And so,
Do you want to talk about the spreadsheet with the community feedback?
sure, so there's a couple things. We've given a variety of opportunities over the time period for folks to give feedback and get involved, to come to the board. So all of the feedback that was submitted, it's linked in the agenda for the board members where you could see it. And so if you take a look at it, I've just color-coded it. If it's green, it means it's supportive of the work that we're doing to build for whatever the topic was, preschool, elementaries, administrative offices. Orange means it's kind of a little bit in the middle, and then red means it was not supportive. So if you take a look at the summary of the elementary feedback that we received, it was overwhelmingly supportive. Now, because we just asked in general, are you supportive of new buildings? Nobody really weighed in on the fact of should we have this many or that many. It was a small sample size because people have given their feedback throughout, but everybody that provided feedback on an elementary school project, building new buildings, renovating Kinsner, everybody that provided an opinion on that were supportive and said it should be our #1 priority in terms of this bond is getting new elementary schools.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything, I would say, is there anything else you want us to discuss specifically before we move on?
Yes, I would say, if possible, we know that Kinsner is going to be used in some fashion as a school. What I would like direction on is, are we comfortable saying that the infrastructure only would be about $4 million and some change? We added $1 million into it to provide additional enhancements of 500,000 square feet. Again, would the board be comfortable in moving forward and putting that one to say, yeah, we want to do some enhancements to Kinsner outside of infrastructure? Let's commit to that and add that to the total ask for the bond.
My answer to that is yes, fellow board members. What do you think? I'm seeing nods.
We couldn't hear the question. Can you repeat the question?
What?
Can you repeat the question? We couldn't hear
The question was, can we add those enhancements to the Kinsner price, which are already built in there for the 5.3 for the project, or does the board want to filter that out and just do infrastructure changes?
Thanks.
And so far, it seems we have consensus to leave it as is in terms of the enhancements.
I don't see any nays, so I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just important that we announce that those enhancements, you see enhancements and part of your brain says, oh, it's not needed, and we should just do what's needed. But the enhancements are really what is going to position that elementary school for the next 30 years. And to forego them, hopefully this is a refrain, is going to be a decision that we regret. Mm-hmm. And so I have no problem supporting it, because the enhancements are things like, and I'm looking at Eric, positioning that grade school to be ready to teach with technology, to be ready to teach with all the things that Our little ones are going to need to learn that we don't even know about yet. And so the thought of foregoing that for Kinsner, but having that for whatever we decide for the other new elementary schools, you know, it would be a decision we would regret. So not only do I support it, I'm 110% in support of it.
You have your direction there.
So let's go ahead and scroll down to step 3. Step 3 is, and I'm skipping over our pause and check number 1, right? So our pause and check was to say, do we feel that the total cost of the project has reached the threshold of what we're willing to ask? Obviously, the majority of our ask would be yellow or orange plan. Since we haven't made a decision on that, we'll continue to step 3 to see, and we've already kind of talked about this a little bit. So with the decision the board has made to say Muraski will just be the preschool, we've got to take a look at our administrative office building. As the board knows, and just to repeat for our community, the administrative office building has major structural issues that are in need of significant repair, and we do not feel that that's a worthwhile investment of dollars. And not only is it a we, but the OFCC comes in, assesses your buildings, and says, does a renovation to replace cost estimate, and they say it's not worth the money to renovate this building. By structural issues, I mean we are going to need a new boiler, we need a new roof. We have the northern wall, due to foundational issues, is separating from the building, which puts us in a predicament where roofers are not really wanting to come replace our roof because of that movement. So we're talking about $3 to $4 million to make those repairs, and so we need to have an alternative plan based on the OFCC assessment and the practicality of that. So we spoke at length a little bit ago about the lease versus the build options, and the presentation is linked there for you if you'd want to refresh your memory. And so that's really what we want to talk about tonight, is that what are the benefits of a standalone SAO building. And as Ms. Bissell shared, you can put it on any property, but we're in a good central location. Why not, if the soil is suitable, just put it behind where we're at there? Or you would vacate that whenever the building is not structurally fit, and you could look at a lease option. So those are the decisions we need to make. We just haven't had that conversation yet about timeline, but according to all of the other projects, the timeline, there has not been a significant concern of too many projects at once. We've done a preliminary study, and looking at that, you could see the total price for a standalone admin office would be a little over $6 million. That is also inclusive of the abatement and demolition of our current building, which is $660,000 in that range for the project. So a little over $5 million for the build, and plus another $6 and some change for the abate and demo of the old Zellers building. So that is what we are looking to discuss tonight. Ms. Bissell, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. How are we feeling about admin offices? Down there on the end. Haley, do you have any thoughts about this one? Admin offices?
I just heard you say admin offices, but I think something.
What do you think about whether we should build a new building, look at leasing, ride this building out until it dies?
I think it is kind of ridden out until it dies at this point, it sounds like. I always like the idea of owning something and not leasing something and having the equity, the value behind it, because it's not going to lose its value when it goes, instead of leasing something and continuing just leasing towards nothing. That's just my policy with everything in Lakeville. I feel that makes the most sense, especially when dealing with this kind of money. And I see where the pros are in leasing with the price, but there's also what it says, you know, what if they find a long-term tenant that we get kicked out of there? And there's a lot of what ifs that you really can't plan. So I personally feel that building is the best, or owning is the best. That's
Thank you. Others? Okay, Laura says her concern is that we can't sign a long-term lease for a variety of reasons, really. George, can you speak to why the long-term lease is a problem?
Yeah, so we have to, under Ohio Revised Code, the one section 412, we have to certify a 412 certificate. So we have to certify that the funds are available. So if you look at our forecast, we're in the positive cash-wise for the next 3 years through 2029. We'll be in a cash deficit, and based on how cash balances are with schools, and I don't see us being in a position where we would be able to certify the funds longer than an extended period of time other than beyond that contract. So if we were to enter into a contract today, we can only certify that the funds are available through either 2027 or 2028, depending if that would put us in the negative. So we can't go anywhere beyond that point where we can't certify the funds anymore. And that goes for any contract, just not a lease, negotiated contract and whatnot. So we can only certify a contract until the funds are available.
In the history of Strongsville schools, how many different administrative offices have there been location-wise?
I can't speak to the full history, but to my knowledge, there's obviously been more, but 2 have been predominant. There's been 3 total. So the original schoolhouse that was right in front of where we're at here was the primary administrative offices.
Right.
For a while, we were separated by 2 locations because of space. So down Pearl next to Jardines, there was another old building that was there that half of our staff. So until we built this building, we were split between 2 properties. And then when we built this building, we had enough savings where we were able to demolish the old board office. And then when we vacated Zellers, that's where we were able to put the whole team together. So at least since the 90s, that's been what the progression has been.
And what year did the board offices move into Zellers?
2015.
15?
Yeah.
End of 15, beginning of 16.
Okay.
It was around this time of year.
And
George?
Zellers was built when?
Zellers was built, what, in the 60s?
I can look.
Early 60s?
Yeah, I believe so.
A lot of the school districts were, or not school, a lot of the school buildings, these elementaries, were built around the same time, which was in the early 60s.
So looking at the cost of, if you were to take the 60s into account of how much money would have been saved versus leasing, is there an easy way to figure that out right now in terms of?
Not off the top.
That's okay, but like
Right.
we came in at the end of the life of the building, so
Yeah.
technically the money that would be saved if it was a brand new building and you got all that time.
Mm-hmm.
So one thought exercise, if you all don't mind. I thought George did a great job last meeting laying out the side-by-side comparison of a lease versus a buy scenario. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the lease actually ended up being a little bit less expensive over
30, over the 30, we
30
looked at
years.
37 years, because
37
that's what
years.
would be the bond of
So I would just ask the group to maybe consider this administrative office as, while it's important, it's not as important as the other issues, and it would be nice to maybe put this on the back burner and maybe even lease for a short period of time, and hopefully we'll get to a point where you would extend that lease, and then once you get beyond the new buildings that are hopefully built, then we can come back to this issue at the appropriate time. But I think this type of conversation, it's just additional conversation that doesn't necessarily need to be had with the community at this point in time. It's a nice to have. It's not a must. So maybe consider leasing for a short period of time, getting those buildings built, passing the levy, and then coming back to this issue at the appropriate time. That being said, don't stay in those buildings if it's not safe and appropriate for the staff, and it's a morale issue. So find the lease.
We could put the administrative buildings in trailers.
Diabolical.
Who's last days?
I'll collect my water bottle at the end of the meeting.
I agree with Kevin on this, actually. And I know we're trying to get as much done as we can, right? Because we don't want to keep going back to the community and asking for more money and new build. I get that. But I do worry that this is taking our focus off of the things that we have to do in the immediate. And I think for a price tag of $6 million, now, of course, it'll be more, 5 years down the road. It may behoove us to put it on the back burner.
I think that's a good point to make in that when you take even more stuff into account, the performing arts kind of centers that we want to do, the athletic complexes, there's so many different things at stake right now that I think that that's where the waters get muddied, that there are so many different things we're talking about that we want to do, that we need to do, and presentations of why these are good things and what are the best things and where does it go. Obviously, we all agree that the schools are the #1 priority, but I think that's where a lot of the confusion probably comes in is, we're talking about the administrative offices, we're talking about the multi-sport, whatever, we're talking about Performing Arts Center, we're talking about Field House. That's where all of the issue comes in, I think, where it's easier just to be like, for people that maybe don't understand it all, to say, you know what, no, we're not doing any of this, as opposed to, we're only going to focus on this.
Any other comments on this topic? Laura, do you have anything you'd like to whisper?
I think the only thing I would add,
Yeah.
just going back to certifying the if we were to lease, we would be potentially looking at a year-to-year type option. So just keep that in mind.
I heard 3 board members in favor of tabling this. Unless there's a severe rejection of that idea, I think we're ready to move on.
Moving to step 4. This is a replication of bringing back up a prior discussion. And so as we take a look at step 4, this goes to the 070 fund. So as a reminder, the projected 070 fund balance at the time of the bond would be about $21 million. We provided 4 options at the last board meeting. We added 5th based on board feedback. So just as a reminder for everybody, the green option is saying we're going to transfer the 070 funds back to the general fund, about $18.5 million. Now that the board has said the preschool, Muraski is going to be the preschool, you've got to pay off that debt. That debt is $2.5 million. And so that, as we talked about last time, transferring that money to the operating fund, general fund, or back to the general fund buys the district an additional year. So that's what that does. The purple option is the same idea, but you're going to take everything and whatever the total for the bond project is, you're going to subtract $18.5 million, and that's what you're going to ask the voters to consider. The blue option is options of we're going to use the 070 funds to fund specific capital projects. Those could be picked from the baseball, softball fields, which is $3.2 million. The middle school and high school athletic facility upgrades, which would be $2.9 million. Again, as a reminder, those upgrades are lights at this field at the middle school. And at the high school, it would be press box upgrades plus visitor amenities, concession stand, restrooms, locker room. That's what would be included there. You could look at a project at the middle school and high school for their arts facility upgrades. For here, it would be upgraded lighting and rigging, lighting and sound. At the high school, it would be lighting and rigging plus a 3,500 square foot addition. That would be for storage, storage, tickets, and backstage area. And so if you do, so those are the options. You could pay right from the 070 fund for those projects. If you took all of those projects, you could have $10.1 million to still reduce from the bond cost. The only difference to the orange plan is you could just say, hey, let's put these projects in the bond. We're just going to add them in the bond. And depending on what you do, you could then, really, you're doing the purple. We're going to put all $18.5 million towards deferring the bond cost or less if you're not using all those projects. And then finally, if the bond does not pass, those are the estimates of critical needs that would have to be done to keep our buildings adequate for our students. And so the decisions that need to be made are which one of these options does the board want to move forward with, because this has a major impact on the bottom line of what the bond project is going to be, as well as when we get to the final step of this process is which of these projects are you interested in entertaining, which directly relates to which color option you selected. So Ms. Bissell, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, who has a comment on this?
Just a point of reference, if you all don't mind. So so now the work can begin. So let's take the baseball, softball fields as an example. You have to wait to find out if the bond passes in May before you can actually make the decision to greenlight that project, correct?
No.
No, okay.
So what you would say, if you wanted to do that, you're choosing the blue option. You're saying, I don't want to wait for the bond project. I want to do the baseball, softball fields. We're going to use $3.2 million of our 070 fund to do that. And then that just gets subtracted from the $21 million that's in that line item.
Okay, but we have to, regardless, we need to save the 10.8 and 4.6.
Correct.
So
you've got to keep that in mind to say, we could do some of these projects prior, $6 million worth of projects prior, and then save the rest.
You got to save $16 million.
You got it.
Okay. So we have $5 million, essentially.
You've got the baseball, softball, and
Yeah.
maybe something else, yeah.
Is that tracking for everybody? Okay.
George, I have a question. Can you remind us at what year we would go into fiscal watch if we don't pass
We don't pass?
an operating levy?
So, yeah, so if for our current 5-year forecast, we're in the cash balance, or we're in the positive cash balance through 2028. So if you think about the forecast, that's the third year. So we're currently in fiscal year 26, then 27, 28, that's the third year. Fiscal year 29 is currently in the negative. So we present and approve the 5-year forecast twice a year and file it to the Department of Education. So the next time we'll do it will be in February. That's still this fiscal year, so it'll be 26, 27, 28. Then the next time would be in August. Then 26 would be an actual year. Then we'll have 27, 28, 29 would be the third year. They look at that third year, and that's when they'll start flagging. First we'll get a letter, and the letter pretty much say, you have a deficit this year, what's your plan? Based on how we submit the plan, they'll put us in a certain fiscal status. You have X number of days, or we haven't received one, so I'm not sure what the language is now, but you'll have a plan that you have to respond with, what you're going to do forward, then they'll continue to monitor, and then they'll put you shortly into some sort of status, which is either caution, watch, or emergency. And then once you're in one of those statuses, then there's fiscal oversight that comes along with it.
Thank you.
Recently, I think Medina got the letter and then they got a plan, but they had that levy that was on the ballot and it proved, so nothing resulted because the timing of it was within months of when they received it to the levy passed. So next August, when we file the forecast, I would be anticipating something shortly after that.
And George, when would the payoff from Muraski, that debt, have to take place?
It could happen anytime. The call date was, there was a call date last year. After the call date, we can do it anytime. We'd have to give so many months' notice, but.
But we need the bond to pass first to
Correct.
trigger that, right? So again, just thinking through sequencing of timing on these things, these decisions.
One of the reasons we haven't paid it off yet, the interest rates that we were earning money were higher. There's been a few rate cuts, so we'll have to watch those rates and see if it inverses, we'll have to see if it's better to pay it off versus keeping the money invested.
Madam President, Madam
Of
Vice
course.
President and the board, I'd like to say something. I think the schools have done a good job at belt tightening, and I think that's reflected in some of the cash that we have that's available. And I also think there's an appetite to show that we're investing back into the community. And some of these things, when I look at the blue plan and the things we're considering, I don't necessarily see them as investments, as overdue maintenance things that we've really kind of neglected and that bills come due. And I think the community would appreciate us as we continue to invest in our student population holistically. So I know that some of these look like they're sports related, but I feel like it's time. And I think it's almost an act of good faith that we're spending money towards making well-rounded students and young people, and making sure that we're taking care of all the things that makes good citizens.
So to make sure I understand you correctly, which of these, you narrowed it down to blue or yellow, so which one would your preference be?
Blue feels balanced to me when I look at that one.
Thank you. Is there value to including it in the bond from a voter perspective?
So in my opinion, and I'll start with, I think sometimes we're trying to be too clever by half with all of these options. We have done what I think is good stewardship of the taxpayer's dollar with the 070 fund. When we did the work to create that fund, when we did the work to invest in that fund, we were very clear in our language and very clear in what we were doing and why we were doing it. We were saying, you know, it's good and it's proper for us to allocate money for what Eric talked about, not just salaries, not just benefits, but for the things that are necessary for a good, vibrant school district. And when we first did that, we said a lot that our hope and intention is that it be a down payment for the eventual project. And we never said that it was going to be just elementary schools or just this or just that. It was going to be a bond project for what we believe the district should have for the next 25, 35 years. And so when I look at the list, when I look at this list compared to everything that we had on the list when we started this conversation, we've been reasonable, we've been judicious, and some might argue overly thrifty. But all of the things on this project list are important. Echoing Mr. Wall's comment, we're probably behind, right? I would comment that we saw how important arts is earlier today. I have a news article about Ohio football and the, what do they call it, the Ohio State team, and the number of Strongsville football players who have made that team. So we know how valuable sports can be. And compared to the investment we're making in elementary school, I think they're reasonable amounts. They're probably, you know, you could argue that they're a little too conservative, but I'm good with being a little too conservative. But for me, I think we should be able to say this is what the bond is for. These are all the things this is what the bond is for, and we'll reduce that amount by what's in the 070 fund. And that's what we're going to have the conversation with the community for to earn their support. I'm a little worried about getting caught with saying you're just moving coconuts around, et cetera. I think we need to say this is what the bond is, this is the dollar amount. We've been very judicious on it. We've saved your tax dollars with that 070 fund to reduce that amount, and that's what it is. You know, I go back to the shopping analogy. You know, am I going to use the money in my wife's wallet to pay for this stuff, and am I going to use the money in my wallet to pay for this stuff? You know, I don't subscribe to that kind of things, and that's, you know, whether we say we're going to use the 070 fund for this stuff and then just do the bond, et cetera. For me, it strikes me as trying to be too clever. I would rather go forward with us having the conversation with the community and saying these are the things we think are important, that are reasonable, that we can afford, whether it's a Starbucks coffee or a McDonald's coffee remains to be decided. But these are the things that are reasonable, we can afford them, and let's go from there. When you go for a mortgage, they ask you, how much can you place as a down payment? And when you have a larger amount, banks generally look at that as you're being strong and fiscally wise. And that's how I kind of look at the 070 fund. So that's my 2 cents.
So Rich, I want to make sure I'm clear on what you're suggesting. Are you suggesting to add these elements into the bond or not?
I'm suggesting we come up with that list. I'm supportive of the baseball, softball fields. I'm supportive of the reasonable athletic facility upgrades and the art facility upgrades. You know, we're talking approximately $6-7 million. I'm supportive of all of that. I think it's wise, and that's what the bond is for. And we've been wise stewards of the taxpayers' money, and we're not asking for that total. We're going to subtract $21 million from that total.
I have a question. The $4.6 million for the admin offices, if it fails, what exactly are we buying with that?
Say that again for me?
In the red box, it says
Oh,
if the
okay.
bond does not pass, there'd be 4.6 allocated for the admin. What are we buying?
It's
Is
the,
it a roof?
it's the roof, it's the boiler, it's the solidifying the wall that's separating from the building.
I know I just said I wanted to leave that discussion of the admin building, but I'm going to go back there anyway. The option also exists for us not to dump the money into that, correct? And just start leasing somewhere else and demo the building for approximately $700,000.
Correct.
So I do think we need to consider that $4 million could be recouped potentially. Haley, Laura, Eric, Megan, anything else on? Oh, right. We're going to be replacing the turf on the football field this coming summer, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So do we know if there's a financial savings if we are going to do those at the same time along with baseball and softball?
There is, but if I remember, it's from memory, is there a cost savings of doing the baseball, softball, and the football fields all this summer? There is a savings, but if you take a look at the size of the project, it's not significant. Yeah.
My opinion here, and I've held this for a while and I haven't shifted, probably 6 months, is I'm very, very hesitant to make the number for the bond bigger. It's already going to be a tough sell. We know that. It's the reason we can't decide on a yellow or an orange plan. And we're talking about potentially raising it, a half of the difference between those two. I think that matters. I think I'm more inclined to put some of it towards the bond as a down payment and take care of some of these overdue items in the immediate, which is, I suppose, the blue box, based on this chart we have in front of us. I have athletes, I have musicians, personally I want to see them, but is it the immediate need? Can we continue to have great programs without them necessarily? Yes, and that's what makes me hesitant to put them into a bond where we're saying we cannot go out without elementary buildings. They are overflowing. I don't want to muddy the must-have and the you know, although I suppose, Eric, you kind of argued that there must have, so I don't know.
I would separate the idea of being good fiscal stewards from being neglectful. And I feel like when you can't play half your season because it's underwater, there's a pride in Strongsville. These are things that we need to address, regardless if we're building a new home. It's almost like being a frugal family, and during the week you eat in every day, but if it's someone's birthday, you're going to celebrate it. You don't skip it and say, I'm going to get a loan, and then come back to that, right? It's the course of business. These are the things that we're in charge of doing and making sure that we're executing decisions on. You can't continue to abdicate those responsibilities because you're waiting for another opportunity to get more money. That's my personal feeling.
I feel a lot of these things that we're talking about, baseball, softball fields, and I agree, you know, you can't play your season if it's underwater. We almost have to shift it down a couple of months and see what happens in the spring and see what happens with what the community says and what their votes say, and not assume that we can really do anything. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I feel like we're almost putting the cart before the horse at this point. Like, we want to do all these things, and they're overdue. What if we just wait one more season? But have the plan to do it, because we have to do it, obviously, and we need to do it. But let's try to get the community support to do all of it.
So which color there best represents your opinion?
Tealish, greenish, bluish, purplish.
I expect nothing less. Thank you, Haley.
Aquamarine.
If I may, just real quick, you know, as you all know, I'm a graduate of Strongsville High School. I actually played on the softball fields numerous times. So I graduated in 2016, just for context, and I played my freshman through junior year before I suffered a back injury. So we're talking from late 2012 to about 2015, and they were talking back then about turfing the softball fields. If you guys haven't been out at the varsity field lately, I also coached for the high school as well. We have a huge dip in right field, and when I say huge dip, I mean if somebody hits a ball to right field and the right fielder isn't backed up pretty much to the fence, they are face first in the ground. I've had way too many softball players that I've had to send to the athletic trainer's office because of that dip that's out there. I've had way too many players that have broken bones, sprained different bodily ligaments because our field was underwater and we had to try and make up games and get them in before season's in so we could potentially move forward in the conference. Knowing all of that, and maybe I'm just a little bit biased, but also knowing that this was a conversation back when I played and also back when I coached, as Eric said before, it feels like some of this is overdue, and it feels like some of this we put on the back burner because, as Richard said, we're trying to be good financial stewards, and I don't discredit that at all. But when we have true safety issues for our athletes, that's where I would be remiss if I didn't sit up here and say something, because I witnessed it firsthand, not only in my playing days over 10 years ago, but I also witnessed it within the last 5 years when I coached, the true dangers that we have sending some of our kids out onto the field if it's not drained properly, and if we at least don't try and take care of some of the issues that we have with the outfield there. It's become not safe. We're having too many injuries. Truthfully, it's not fair to the kids. And we're here to help the kids and be stewards for the kids. And I'm going to sit up here and advocate for the kids, especially knowing firsthand what it's like out there for them. Thank you.
Being on the board, should we be being made aware of these children that are breaking bones and ligaments? I mean, like, that's news to me. Like you hear that and you're like, yes, we need to do this, but like, where's the disconnect of that information? Like, is it not making it to administration? Is it not making it to us? Is it not making it past the athletic trainer? Like, that's really important. Like, I'm just picturing all these kids in casts and like having surgery and like being out for their seasons. Like, where's the disconnect in that information?
I don't have an answer, but I imagine we could find one. Megan, just for clarity's sake here, which color box does your opinion best align with?
Blue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President, may I make a proposal? For consideration? Just take $8 million of the $21 million, allocate that for the projects that are outlined here, and then from a sequencing standpoint, if the bond does pass, then you need to take the 2.5 to pay off the debt at Muraski, and then everything else would be put back into the bond. But I would cap the budget for baseball, softball, arts, and athletic upgrades to $8 million, and put the rest to the bond project.
Okay, there's a suggestion on the floor. I expect a couple of nods over there. What about the rest of us? This is something I can support. It meets, I think it's a balance. For me, I just really, really, really struggle of raising the bond number. So this would lower the bond number and take care of some overdue projects. So I like the suggestion, Kevin. Can you walk us through, for those listening, how you arrived at the $8 million as the cap?
Yeah, so just take baseball, softball, and just round that down to 3.
Okay.
Take the athletic facilities upgrades, round that up to 3, and then, so you're at 6 there, and then arts to 2. And that gets you to 8. Now, the staff and everyone else is going to have to work to get to those numbers. We're going to do some fundraising, but cap it at $8 million, get to work. And I like Eric's point of, these are just maintenance things we should have been doing anyway. So I like that positioning, and get to work. And then we hold off on that 2.5 that we're going to need to pay off Muraski, and that's a hard number, right? So that there's no flexibility there, and put the $10 million back, the rest of it back into the bond.
Thank you. Laura, do you have? She said I could get behind that. I'm getting lots of nods, and
I don't have any, I mean, that's
So-
fine.
okay.
To me, it's just moving coconuts around.
okay.
So I would suggest we shop that and see how it resonates. But dollars and cents, it ends up being similar.
Yeah. Okay. So for right now, Cameron.
So right now, I just added some context that we would go with the blue option. $8 million would go towards projects, $2.5 million towards Muraski debt. The remaining $10.5 million would reduce the bond cost. Is that summary?
And then get some credit for, I mean, we've got the money, we need to put it to work and do some good stuff now.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm sorry, it's just suggesting that we have the money, so let's put it to work and get some credit for doing the right thing for our students now.
Okay, last one. And this should be, you kind of answered a little bit of this with the last one. So since we've selected the blue option, this goes through all of the projects that are in the blue option. So taking what Kevin just suggested and taking a look at this, we're basically saying use the 070 for fund for all of these projects, just get them to not to exceed $8 million. So by the nods there, we have consensus for that? Okay. So let me just do a little math here real quick. So if we take a look at what we've decided so far tonight, we've decided to do the preschool project, which is $12.3 million. We've decided to do the Kinsner project with the $1 million enhancements to have equity, that's $5.5 million. We've agreed to do all the projects in the blue option, which would be $8 million, but those would not be within the bond project. So if you take a look at all of that, The only decisions that we have left are, and then we take $10.5 million and reduce the bond. Based on what I think is accurate, if you do the yellow plan, your total bond is $143,611. If you do the orange plan, it's $122.5 million. So as we continue to think about both of those, 122 million versus 143, 144 million.
Thank you.
Yes. There's,
That concludes this portion?
yes, 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 yes.
Okay, we'll move on to the next discussion. That would be for the legal firms. All of us were present at the special board meeting we had where we interviewed potential firms to help us with future negotiations. At the end of that meeting, which was lengthy in and of itself, so we did not come to a final decision. We had narrowed it down to two firms, Pebble and Wagner and Weston Hurd. At this time, it would behoove us to make a decision of those two so we can vote on. Now, both of them are already used, correct? So they'll both already be on our
Organizational meeting.
thank you, that's the word, organizational meeting in January. But I do think it would be nice to let the firms know that their interviews came to some kind of result. So we can inform them of our decision after we make one tonight. So who would like to start in terms of Pebble and Wagner versus Weston Hurd? Laura has requested that these firms represent the board, but the daily work is with Jenny, Cameron, and George. So Laura has requested that the three of them provide their feedback first.
I think I started last time, so George, if you want to start.
Well, I was going to say, if you guys want to start, as you deal with them more on a day-to-day than I do, mine are just more at the end of the day when the contract's finalized. And but from my overall point of view, and I know Mrs. Belko was probably going to say this as we talked about it today, is where we deal with, currently when we have contract issues or labor issues, we deal with Weston Hurd. Pebble Wagner currently negotiates our contract, and then as we implement it and have issues, we kind of have Weston Hurd have those employee issues. So it might be nice just to have it all under one scope, whether it's Weston Hurd or Pebble Wagner. So to me, my preference would have been Weston Hurd over Pebble, but either way, I think we have good relationships with both, and kind of leaning that way.
Thank you, George. Cameron, Jenny?
Yeah, George and I, like he said, we talked about it a little bit today, and I think, one of the, like he said, we deal a lot with, interpreting contract language, and usually we're calling Weston Hurd for that. They're also dealing with the nuances of different situations on a daily basis. Very responsive, very easy to talk to, and again, very detailed. And so I think it really resonates with me when you're dealing with that on a daily basis to work with the same person for negotiations. And again, I think it might behoove us to make a change to a different firm, as we discussed. And so I would say Weston Hurd at this point, having worked with both. But I do agree with George, having both of them to reach out to. There's sometimes we're dealing with issues that it's nice to get a different opinion. And I've worked with different lawyers at Pebble as well that have helped with different situations and they already know the history. So I would like to continue that as well.
Agreed. The one comment I made last time, I'll make it again, is it's not a forever decision, right? So We, based on another item that's on the agenda, we've got a little bit of a year head start on our next negotiations with a part of our bargaining unit, so I think this will be a good onboarding time to make a change, and we'll have a good sample size within a year to see how that experience went. We also have some committee work that we need to do, so I think now's a good time to try, expanding to a new firm to oversee negotiations for all the reasons George and Jenny shared.
Comments on those? I heard all of them say the same, Weston heard. I'm seeing nods from my board members. Nods. Richard, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Okay. We'll go with Weston Hurd. If we could let them know, whatever that looks like, please. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. That concludes Board of Education Other. Whew. Okay. George.
And Ms. Bissell, before you move on.
Oh, really?
No, it's quick. But if, we've talked a lot about properties.
Yeah.
In the board agenda, you could see it. I did link the spreadsheet that I was looking at, so there's a spreadsheet that says district properties. It shows you all the stuff that I was referring to, so should you want to look at that between now and our next meeting, that's in there for you to access.
That's helpful, thank you. You want to do that now? We'll do this, yeah, I'm going to blame Laura, but we're going to do one more thing in Board of Education Other. We do have to schedule another meeting because we did not make a decision on yellow or orange plan, so we need to do that before, what's the deadline?
So we need to file, so January 8th, we're going to vote on the first resolution. We need a number before January 8th so we could have the attorneys prepare it, the financial advisors to come up with a reasonable millage and dollar amount for that based on the calculations on what that dollar amount will come out to. And then also by January 5th, when we pass that last resolution, we have to plug a number in there for the tax commissioner. So we need a number by the first of the year.
Kevin, look at them making up excuses for why they don't want us to leave.
We just want you guys around for another meeting.
So how does that work with the holiday schedule and the folks that you may have to work with before the end of this calendar year?
Really, the sooner we can make a decision, the better that
Okay.
way.
Yep.
What does the calendars look like between Christmas and the 31st?
I can't hear you.
When do you need to post
When do you
the
have to
meeting?
post the meeting?
I can
When
hear
do I
you the
do
best out of anybody here.
With 24 hours. Or
So do we have
48
to
I'm sorry,
decide
48
right
hours.
now in this meeting,
40
or can we
48
just
hours.
decide later? Okay, so, just so you know, for the public, there will be another meeting, date to be determined, if you want to tune in for that one. We'll post it 24 hours in advance.
48
Sorry,
hours.
48 hours in advance, okay.
Do you mind if we just look at just thinking about other people's holidays, not ours,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
I don't know who you have to work with, but, I mean, we have basically a couple of working days left to get something done, right?
Yeah.
Next week.
I would say either next week or the week before Christmas, or
The week of Christmas.
the week, yeah, the Monday, Tuesday, probably.
George, how much time do they need once we give them a number?
I don't know that offhand.
I'm sorry?
I don't know that answer offhand. I can find
Because
out.
I was thinking, and I'm just thinking out loud, we have the 23rd, but that's Christmas week.
I love
And
it.
then we have the 29th through the 30th. And the benefit, from one perspective of the 29th through the 30th, is it gives us more time. The consequence, it may not be enough time for the professionals to turn it around.
That's right.
So if you can just find out and then feed it back, then I think that would be our guide.
Right.
Because I'd like to have more time than less. On the other hand, we can't box ourselves in a corner
Okay.
and not be ready for the next year.
So we'll come back to that when we have that information. Okay, thank you. So,
And just as a point of reference, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ms.
That's
Bissell,
okay.
but just as a point of reference, depending on people's schedules, 7 PM is just a time that we choose. It doesn't have to be the time, so depending on what everybody's plans are, those meetings can happen in the morning, during the day. So if everybody's schedules allows a little more flexibility, then that can happen. If not, we can do it in the evening.
Christmas morning meeting at Cameron's house.
Come on over.
Presents for everybody.
thank you. We truly are moving on to the treasurer's report. George?
Yep, I have a few items for your consideration tonight. One is the financial report for the month ended November 30th. We were able to get the reports today and loaded and updated to the agenda. So I know you haven't had much time to look at them. I can just give some highlights based on the interest in time and that we don't have the presentation. So there's no real material change from the October report to this report. The only change is every year around this time, there's in November or October, there's the October count for transportation, and then they count ridership, and then we upload our numbers to the Ohio Department of Education, and they use that as part of their formula to fund us in the foundation funding. So that was done in November. In the forecast, I had a little bit of a reduction based on how we changed from the mile to the half mile based on ridership. So the first payment in December, they updated their formula numbers based on the new counts that we submitted. The good news is the reduction wasn't as bad as we had anticipated. So foundation formula is for transportation is about a $200,000 increase from what we had forecasted. So overall, the way the forecast is trending, we finished the month with a cash balance of $47.4 million, which is $8.5 million lower than the previous year, or 13.73% compared to November of this year, last November. It is 51% of expenditures. It is also looking at the last 2 years. It's in the financial status report. If you've seen that graph of cash balances by month, this is the lowest cash balance that we've had over the last 2 years as well. We are entering that stage where we're spending more than we're bringing in, especially at this point of the year. In comparison to the forecast, our revenues are trending about $1.5 million dollars higher than forecasted. It's about 1.75%. And the differences there is the one-time county reimbursement. That was about $900,000 at 1.4. We did get a state foundation performance bonus of $300,000 based on our state report card grade, and then the state foundation for transportation that we just received. Not received, but it was finalized. It was about a $200,000 increase in comparison to the forecast. So expenditures are trending better than forecasted. As mentioned before, revenues are trending better than forecasted. Expenditures are also 1.6% lower than forecasted, about $1.5 million, and that was the same trend as last month. The biggest variables there is salary and benefits are about $1 million lower. And compared to looking at those two lines, it's of $80 million, about 1.2%. The salaries make up about $700,000 of that, and benefits are about $200,000. And the key differences are full-time subs. As each month those positions stay open, it's about $155,000 lower in salaries and $174,000 lower in benefits. There was a teacher position for the middle school that was a placeholder not being filled. And then transportation, just the attrition, $127,000 lower salaries and $71,000 in benefits. And then the non-personnel costs, there's about a savings of $500,000 due to timing differences and encumbrances, carryover and payments. So kind of looking at 1.5 might sound a lot, but in a $95 million budget, it's about 1.5% and comparable. I'm going to keep saying this. I said it last time. If you have $100 for a purchase and you receive change of $1.5 or $1.50. So it's may sound a big number, but in the grand scheme of things of the overall size of the district, It's a little bit of a savings. And then we're going to keep repeating this. As the forecast dates have changed, we're going to see these bigger numbers because in the previous forecast, where they were due in November, we were able to use trends. Now they're due earlier, and you're not able to use those trends. And they also have to be tied to the annual budget as well, so you're going to have natural saving or differences there. And then the next forecast will be in February, where before it was closer to the end of the year, and you started next year's budgeting. So that concludes the financial report. If there's any questions.
Questions for George?
All right. Moving on to item F2, return of advances. If you recall, at the end of the fiscal year, in our second meeting in June, we have advances to other funds. Those are typically for the general fund advancing to federal grant funds, where they carry a negative balance. And the reason for those negative balances is they're reimbursable grants. We have to spend the dollars first, then request them from the state, so there's a month lag. So when you get to that fiscal year end, we can't end the year in those funds with a deficit, so the general fund has to do an advance. Now we receive those dollars back, so we're advancing those dollars back to the general fund. So those advances are highlighted in the exhibit. Item F3 is amendments to the appropriation. There's two. The one is for the E-rate fund. We received E-rate dollars of $41,000, so we're increasing that budget to match the dollars received. And then the second one is for the 070 fund for GPD's contract, which will be under the business services. There was a revision of $23,000 for geotesting, so that incorporates for that increase. And the last one, there is an update to our medical insurance premiums and prescription for OPSI and administrative leadership due to the plan design changes that we had in our negotiated agreements. It reduced our premiums for those, and they're based on a calendar year, not a fiscal year, because of deductibles, co-insurances, and whatnot. So those go into effect in January.
Very good. Any questions for George?
All right. That concludes my report.
Thank you. This time it's superintendent's report. Dr. Iba.
Thank you, Ms. Bissell. The first item is an action item. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Strongsville City School Board of Education ratifies an agreement with the Strongsville Education Association effective August 1st, 2026 through July 31st, 2028.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motioned by Ms. Sovcik, seconded by Mr. Griffin. Would you like to share a little bit about this?
Sure. We are very excited to reach this agreement with our teachers. Before I talk about the agreement, I think it's important to share publicly. We are just blessed here in this district to have phenomenal educators. We are blessed to be able to attract great educators, retain great educators, because they do wonderful things for our kids each and every day. So to continue the partnership we've had with Mike Scott as the association leader, to continue to solidify an agreement between the district and our association is something that's a lot of years of relationship building and trust building and good stewardship on both sides, looking at not only what's in the best interest of our employees, but what's in the best interest of our district and our community as a whole. So what we've done at this time is considered a rollover agreement. We feel on both sides that we have a solid agreement that's fair to the taxpayers, fair to our teachers, and fair to the district overall. So this agreement, what it does is it takes into effect all of the current language and leaves it pretty much the same. Addresses any legal updates that have to be made, addresses any MOUs between the district and the association and updates that, and looks at salary increases as well. So in year one, there will be a 3% increase to the salary for our teachers, and in year two, there will be a 2.5% increase to our teachers. Besides the legal and MOU updates, the rest of the language will remain the same. So the solid ground that this agreement puts our district on moving forward, so our teachers can focus on what they need to focus on, which is teaching and providing high-quality premier instructional experiences to our kids in the classroom. They can do that. And just want to say thank you to the leadership of the SEA. Thank you to the Board of Education for your partnership in allowing us to reach this agreement with the teachers.
Thank you. And the board would also like to add our thanks to the SEA and the district team for a collaborative and respectful negotiation process. This agreement is fiscally responsible while supporting the great work of our teachers, as Dr. Iba mentioned. And we are grateful for the continued partnership as we remain focused on doing what's best for our students, and we always have them in mind. So we're so thankful and grateful for this smooth process. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes. Motion carries.
The item 2 and item 3 are revisions to our admin and leadership handbooks. Those were just approved by the board this past spring. We found an error in the severance calculation based on recent updates that we did. So we are correcting the language to ensure that it just stays consistent with the past practice that we've had for many years. So there was an extra 30% put in there that threw off the calculation. So for the admin handbook, that corrects that. So it's my recommendation that the board adopt that, the revised admin handbook from August 1st, 25 to July 31st, 2028 from the updated version. The leadership handbook had that same change made, as well as in the last year of the handbook in the salary schedule for the assistant transportation supervisor. There was a miscalculation in the rate of pay for that. That's been corrected. And so that's the recommendation for item number 3. Any questions on either of those? All right, moving on to business services. The first item is an action item. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the following revision be made. It's the revision to the agenda from August 7, 2025, and the sections listed there. The addition is a GPT group proposal revised to include additional services provided by Words Geotechnical Engineering at the cost of $23,450.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, seconded by Mr. Griffin. Dr. Iba gave us a description of what it's for, and I think George mentioned it earlier as well. Do we need any further explanation? George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes. Motion carries.
Item number 2 is an action item for the purchasing of busing. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that bids be accepted for 2 47-passenger conventional school bus chassis and bodies minibus as received by the School Bus Cooperative Purchasing Program of the Ohio Schools Council as listed in the exhibit. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that bids be accepted from Myers Bus Sales and services for 2 47-passenger conventional bus chassis and bodies. Funding shall be as follows: 2 47-passenger conventional bus chassis and bodies. How many times do I have to say that in a resolution? Provided by the Permanent Improvement Funds with a purchase price not to exceed $324,450.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Same 2 again, George. And Dr. Iba, can you tell us what we're buying?
Yeah, we are buying 2 minibuses to help support. Yeah, that's
How many
right.
passengers?
I can't even say it without laughing. 2 minibuses to support our students with disabilities. These are, we have 2 buses. We should get these within a year, Steve said. We have 2 buses that are going to need to be offline here, so these are replacement for 2 buses that have reached their lifespan. And they are, the price of buses has significantly skyrocketed, especially with the mechanicals for lifts and the needs of our mini buses. So these will be 2 online to replace 2 that have to go offline here shortly.
Thank you. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes. Motion carries.
And finally, we have a gift. We'd like to thank Nick Pune for donating a snare drum valued at $75 to the middle school. Moving on to curriculum, we've got a handful or 2 items which are placements. So the first item is for students to be placed for the purpose of clinicals, or student clinical practice. We have a student going to the high school. As I look, they're all going to the high school, and all from Baldwin Wallace. The second item is for a school counseling clinical practical placement for that student to go to the middle school to work with two of our counselors, and that student's from Cleveland State. We have the rest of these items are trips. So the first one is an out-of-state trip for our high school dance team to travel to Macomb, Michigan, to participate in the dance team union competition in January. The entry fee of $1,700 will be paid for the athletic department, and transportation is via parent vehicles, and lodging and meals will be paid by the students. Number 4 is an overnight trip for the dance team again. They are traveling to Vidalia, Ohio, to participate in the Dance State Championships in January 24th to 26th. There's a fee of $870 paid by the athletic department. Transportation is by the parents again, and lodging and meals for this one will be paid for by the athletic boosters. And then finally, we have an overnight trip for our high school gymnastics team to travel to Cincinnati to participate in the Win the Day Invitational in February. Transportation is via school bus, paid by the district, and lodging and meals will be paid by fundraisers and the gymnastics booster funds. Moving on to student services, 3 items for placements of students. The first is placement of enter into agreement with Trust the Journey Academy for placement of a student with disabilities, effective November 12, 25 through July 30th, 26. The rate of tuition is $58,147, a one-time registration materials fee of $500, an extended school year in the amount of $6,700 for a total of $65,347. Additional fee of $4,000 per month for the provisions of a one-on-one support if necessary per the agreement. Number 2 is for the placement of another student at the same location, Trust the Journey, effective November 20th through July 30th, 2026. The fees you could see are listed there for a total of $62,365 per the agreement. And the final recommendation is for a student to be placed at KidsLink for the 25-26 school year in the amount of $61,740. It will be prorated for a start date of January 12th, 2026, and ending August 31st, 2026 per the agreement. Any questions there? All right. I'm going to turn it over to Jenny for the Human Resource Report.
You sick of talking? All right. Under Human Resources this evening, we have the following items for your consideration. Under number 1, we have a resignation of our Assistant Treasurer, so we wish Yanni all the best. 2, resignation of a certificated district substitute. Resignation for a non-certificated employee. Under 4, retirement for non-certificated staff. 5, appointments for certificated staff. Under 6, appointments for non-certificated staff. 7, appointments for certificated substitutes. 8, appointments for non-certificated substitute. 9, certificated supplemental contract appointments. Under 10, appointments for game workers. 11 is an appointment for a home instruction tutor. 12, contract recommendations for non-certificated staff. 13 are leaves of absence for certificated staff. 14, leaves of absence for non-certificated staff. 15 is an unpaid leave for certificated staff. 16, volunteer chaperones. And finally, under 17, we do have a correction to the June 12th, 2025 agenda. Under appointments for extended school year for 2025, they corrected the rate of pay from $35.70 to $36.68. And that concludes the Human Resources Report.
And then next, the loan director to give his report. We gave everybody the night off today because it's a busy time of year, and Dave was gracious enough to be here. So,
well, it helps when your daughter performs the beginning of the meeting. So, I have 2 items for you tonight. The first one here is To be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that Strongsville Board of Education enters a 3-year agreement with Cyber NEO LLC to implement a cybersecurity culture assessment, employee cybersecurity awareness, training sessions, and cybersecurity tabletop exercises annually. During year 1, a cybersecurity policy administration guideline template and an incident response template will be provided. Along with this is a CIS or assist cohort services will be delivered by the Educational Service Center, and the total for the 3-year program is $34,125 paid annually at $11,275 per year.
I think we should, A, compliment you for being here, and then teach you a lesson. What is a CIS cohort services delivered?
So these services are packaged together between Cyber NEO and the Spark ITC, which is the Stark County ITC. Right now, our Meta Services, who we have contracted as our general ITC, has failed to have a cohort go with either the NIST or CIS. They're the two cybersecurity frameworks that are suggested by House Bill 96. Meta has not been able to get enough schools to come together to make it, affordable for them to run the cohort. Stark County has started one with CIS. We'd be jumping in about 6 months late. It is a very thorough process, and they've broken it down starting from September up to June of next year, because the requirements for reporting and having the framework in place is July 1st of 2026. So this will allow us to jump in, get caught up, and then keep on pace with them with the Spark cohort. And these services come together. And Thomas, who is the owner and the main person at Cyber NEO, has passed working with IBM in cybersecurity, environment awareness, and culture. And so they've kind of just brought these two things together and selling the services together as that.
Who's our guinea pig?
What do you mean by who's our guinea pig?
Who's going to be joining the cohort?
Oh, it'll be either Jim Hamlick, our network manager, and or myself. Probably be whoever's available on the day to go down. What they do is they have a workshop time for about half the day, and then you kind of get homework, and you leave, you get your evidence, and then you go back and you kind of make sure everything's kind of in place, then you get your next set of homework for the next month. So the two of us will be working on that together, but it's really whoever's available that day to go down.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again for coming here.
And then, any other questions? Okay. Item number 2, be it resolved with the recommendation of the superintendent that the Strongsville Board of Education enters a 3-year agreement with Parent Square to transition from Reminds, More, and School Messenger to the Parent Square platform. The soft launch will take place in February 2nd of 2026 through June 30th. Of 2026 at no cost to the district. The official term for start will be July 1st, 2026. The annual cost of year 1 will be $22,800. Year 2 would be $24,225, and year 3 would be $25,650.
Thank you, Dave. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Dave before he sits down? Okay, I think we're okay. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Moving on to reports. Report on Polaris Career Center. We just had a meeting this past Tuesday. It was our annual holiday dinner and meeting. A couple of really exciting things happened at that meeting. First of all, we approved a new contract for our treasurer, Mike Robinson. So he will be joining or staying with Polaris for another 5 years. So congratulations to Mike. And then also congratulations to the assistant treasurer, Jessica. I apologize, the internet wasn't I couldn't get it to work, so I can't tell you exactly what award she won, but she won an award, and they came and presented to her, and it was a really lovely, I commented after, it was a really lovely presentation. You could tell that Jessica's making a difference in the affiliated group where she's working, and it was really nice to see and hear about. So congratulations also to Jessica. And then just a couple of new program updates. It's really exciting what's starting at Polaris. So in the fall, there will be 4 new opportunities. 3 of them are open to everyone. The first one is there's a new partnership building with Kent State University. As we know, they're known for their fashion program. So they're starting a fashion design and merchandising program at Berea. So it'll be the same model as the programs that run out of Polaris Career Center itself, their junior and senior year programs. It will be out of Berea High School. However, they're piloting this where it's open to all the consortial districts. So instead of going to Polaris, you'll be going to Berea High School, but our students here in Strongsville are eligible for that program. So if you have a student interested in fashion design and is a rising junior, you might want to look into that. 2 other ones that will be senior-only programs. So these are, one of them is robotics. Our new addition will be opening in the fall of 2026. And so there'll be a 1-year program, robotics offered to seniors. So if you aren't in Polaris program currently, but would like an opportunity to study either robotics or nail technician, you can get into a 1-year program there, and you get some industry credits for that. So those can help you with graduation requirements. And then the final new program is a cybersecurity program, timely, at North Olmsted. So they're trying something new there, so we'll keep our eye on that for the future as well. And that concludes my report. Continuing on to legislation, Mr. Micco?
I am going to say that there is nothing to report, and we'll come back in January and double up on everything.
Very good, thank you. City Council. She can't talk, so you must.
I'm going to say that there is nothing to report other than have a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.
Strongsville Education Foundation.
The Strongsville Education Foundation hosted their annual fundraiser on November 22nd. They raised over $40,000. They had 48 different sponsors, and 275 people attended the event. And they are busy getting ready for next year. It was the best event they've had financially ever, so they're very excited and appreciate everyone's support.
Thank you, and it was a lovely event. I enjoyed the evening.
Kevin, do you know if you still can purchase the dinner tickets? There's I'll look it up on the internet if you don't.
I do not know. Yeah.
I'll look it up and find out.
Okay. And that's for the scholarship dance, the scholarship.
It was I'm going to look it up,
Yeah, I
and
know
then
what
I'll
you're
do
talking
it.
about. Yeah, I'm not sure. Thank you for asking, though.
Strongsville Council PTA, very similar story. We had a holiday brunch in this case. It was the first one I've ever attended. It was very lovely. Administration comes, PTA members from the different buildings come, and there are a list of dates of note. I'm going to highlight one of them because it's the most timely, and we'll come back to the rest. This Saturday, December 13th, the Reflections program is having their art show at the library. This is free and open to the public from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. I stopped by once before, and it was really fun to see all the kids' artwork that they're going to be submitting for contest to the state. So if you have time, it's a nice 3-hour window. Stop by the library, and as an added incentive, they're going to be raffling off Cedar Point tickets to all those. You'll be entered in if you attend. So please check it out. Those kids have worked really hard and would love you to see what they do. And that concludes my report. Southwest General.
Wishes you a very happy holidays.
And so does the Finance and Policy Committees. Facilities Committee. Oh, ditto. I hear ditto. And what about Business Advisory Council?
There's nothing to report at this time. Happy holidays.
Next
Very-
meeting's February 6th, though.
Yes, thank you.
Very good, thank you. At this time, we're going to take a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented. I don't believe it was amended. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stovcek, seconded by Mr. Griffin. The action, I didn't read this part, but action by the Board of Education here means that all the items with an asterisk we're going to be voting on with one vote. Questions, comments? George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes, motion carries. Superintendent's timely information.
Well, thank you, Ms. Bissell, for sharing one of the things with the Reflections Art Show. So that's a great update, and if people want to get all the details, the flyers linked on the timely information slide. As well as we finalize the date for our Model Mustang experience. That's our State of the Schools, come get a first-hand experience of what amazing work is happening in our classroom. So that'll be Tuesday, March 31st at the high school from 6 to 8 p.m. So we look forward to sharing more in the coming months after the first of the year about that event.
Okay, we have more Board of Education other. This time, we'd like to review the 2026 meeting dates, and if anyone has any potential conflicts. Is that correct? That's what we're doing here?
Yes, so the yellow, we always go second and fourth Thursday. The yellow highlights highlight those ones that don't follow that schedule. The green highlight is just something to consider. That's always our retirement celebration. It is the day before the last day of school, so the 29th. So, you know, if the board would wish, Jenny and Ryan can talk to the retirees we know of to see if that works for them, or whether right before the last day of school they're not available. So, and I personally likely will not be available on that date either. We have to remember that the 21st is commencement. So last year we did it the Wednesday before commencement. Board has to decide what they want to do, keep it as is, move it to a Wednesday. So that's why that's highlighted green.
Do you want us to talk about that particular date now, or do you want us
Sure.
to wait for feedback from?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if there's a feeling from the board to say, hey, we don't want to wait to the last day before the last day of school, then let's talk about it now.
That is my opinion. The last week of school is chaos. I don't really want to add a 3-hour meeting to the agenda for anyone. What is the proposed other option would be? You said it was the Wednesday before commencement?
Yeah, it'd be the Wednesday,
So
the 20th. And that would follow what we did this past year.
I would say we look at that for right now.
Couldn't we have the meeting during commencement?
I don't think anyone would appreciate that. Okay, so tentatively May 20th then, Dr.
Yes,
Abba?
we'll make that change.
Are there any other known conflicts? I have one February 26th. I have had a trip planned for quite some time. Yeah. Oh, July 23rd is the week of homecoming in the community, so if we could perhaps move the retreat off of that week, that's probably good too.
So just so I can capture this, we're moving May 28th to May 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are potentially looking at, what was the date you weren't available, Ms. Bissell?
February 26th,
Okay, February 26th.
and then July 23rd.
Okay.
Mr. Miko or Mr. Wall, Ms. Hafner, any other conflicts that you know of?
Just homecoming in July, like Ms. Hausum said.
Thank you. Do you need us to talk about anything else with this? Is that good?
The only other thing that I would suggest is there has been discussion of possibly bumping up the start time of the meetings to 6:30 instead of the 7 p.m. start. So if the board would like to have any discussion on whether you want to try it, to start the meetings at 6:30.
I think that's a great idea, even though I will not be affected by it.
But you do have experience, so.
I do. I think that's a
I
very good
appreciate that.
idea.
So we can try it. I mean, candidly, 6:30 is very difficult for me. 7 is difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we can try it. But, yeah, 6:30, just when, as an example, today, traffic didn't cooperate. 6:30 is during, 7 o'clock lets me leave work, and a little bit of rush hour is over. 6:30 is going to be in the middle of rush hour. But, I mean, we can try it if other people want to try it.
Let's give it a shot and see. If it's not working, we can make an immediate change.
Okay. The last thing would be, do we want to look at, so at the January organizational meeting, you guys are going to vote on the board calendar. So since we have such few dates that have conflict, if we want to take a look at the February 26th date while we're all here. And, you know, again, if we take a look at and say, let me see, February. So we would typically like to, you're gone the whole week though, right, Ms. Bissell?
I leave the 25th, and then I'm back the 28th. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday that week, I'm gone.
So if we want
So
to
I
look
could do a
at,
Monday, or I could do Tuesday.
yeah, so if you want to look at the, because we don't want to bump weeks because then it gets back-to-back meetings. So looking at the 23rd or 24th of February?
Yeah, I have elementary facilities
On the 24th,
potentially.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we could look at the 23rd?
it's fine for me. I'm getting okay, so
Okay.
let's go with that.
So, and then, let me put that, so we're moved to February 23rd. And then if we take a look at July 23rd, we want to stay off of homecoming week. The other meetings, let's see. Oh, July 23rd is the retreat, so
We can do it whenever, right?
whatever, yeah.
And that's a 5-Thursday month.
Is it?
It is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So maybe the 30th?
Yeah, we'll look at the 30th?
Yeah,
Yeah, July 30th would be good.
okay.
Okay. Mr. Wall, you with the 30th?
You said July 30th?
July 30th? Yeah. Okay, we're good then. We'll make those adjustments for the organizational meeting.
Thank you. Next item is, requires action be it resolved that the Strongsville City Schools Board of Education approves reimbursable expenses for Michelle Bissell as outlined in the exhibit. Players Career Center will reimburse the district 50% of approved expenses, as well as registration and hotel fees. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stovcek, seconded by Mr. Griffin. I believe these are expenses as related to OSBA, so when we travel to the conference, correct? George, you take the roll.
Ms. Sawchek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Abstain. Motion carries. Next item is similar. Be it resolved that the Strongsville City Schools Board of Education approve reimbursable expenses for Laura Wolfhausen as outlined in the exhibit. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, same two there, George. Can you take the roll?
Ms. Sawchek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Stay.
That was an abstain?
Yes.
Just repeating it for the record. And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes, motion carries. Do we have any Board of Education miscellaneous?
What was that, Michelle?
So I just wanted to take a few moments to compliment all of the high school and the middle school, et cetera, but I was able to attend the Thursday, December 4th holiday orchestra concert, and as it is every year, it's outstanding. It was in reverse. It was fun to see the middle schoolers tonight, and it was fun to see the seniors, and I believe Mrs. Bissell had some members of her family in the orchestra. But I did want to compliment Mrs. Eicher and Mr. Heyer, choral director and orchestra director, and I just wanted to give a little bit of a tut-tut to Mr. Heyer. During the symphony orchestra, he apologized after they played, where did it go? Simple Symphony, movements 1 and 2 by Benjamin Britten. It was simply outstanding. He should not apologize. He apologized and said it's time to wake up, but it was just outstanding. It was moving, and it was excellent. And I am going to highlight that this is their competition piece, and so he wanted to have them practice, but he should never apologize for the beautiful music. It was just outstanding, and I can't say it enough. But it is their competition piece, and so we will make sure to highlight it in the future. But they have, on February 4th, they have their side-by-side concert with the 8th grade orchestra, and then these are the competitions. OMEA District 4 is on Saturday, February 7th, and then they have a concert preview concert on Wednesday, February 11th in the Strongsville High School auditorium. And I look forward to going to that and seeing how in just 2 or 3 months how much they're going to improve, because I don't think they possibly can, and it was that good. So kudos to them. Switching gears, I wanted to give a shout out. If anybody saw it in cleveland.com, the All-Ohio football team was announced, and we had a number of players, a number of football players that made that team. So to give them a quick shout out, Defensive Player of the Year, Storm Miller from Strongsville. First team defense, Austin Adkins. In addition, Storm Miller again. Running back, Kendrick Bodie. Quentin Young. And then Vincent Roncone was nominated to the kicking team. And Austin Tadalinsky. Alex Espay. George Majernik. And that's everybody using Control Find in the article. So kudos to them. I think it was wonderful that we had so many football players represented on the All-Ohio team. And that is all I had for others.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, moving on, meeting notification. Says we have to set the date, but I think the date's already set, right? January 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Back in the admin building, we'll have our organizational meeting followed by our work session. Is that correct?
Are we doing that at 7 or 6:30?
What's that?
It says 7, so are we making it 6:30?
Yes, we're going to edit it. This is just kind of the old, so I'll edit it on the agenda here shortly to make it 6:30.
I can change it, Cameron.
I'm already in there, George. If you refresh, it should be good now.
Look at that.
I believe you. Thank you. And then we have one more item.
Michelle,
Yeah.
Ms. Bissell, that was an action item.
It says action information. That's different, I think.
Dr. Abbott, you're still in it. Can you edit it to action, or action procedural? We should vote on it.
Okay, so you want us to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that the organizational and work session meetings will be January 8th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the meeting room at the admin building, 18199 Cook Avenue, Strongsville. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stovcek, seconded by Mr. Griffin. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stalchek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes, motion carries. Next item, we need to appoint a president pro tempore for the 2026 organizational work session meeting. This also will require a vote. Would someone like to nominate a president pro tem?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Bissell to be President Pro Tem.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. will make a motion to appoint Michelle Bissell as President Pro Tem for the 2026 organizational meeting. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stovcek, seconded by Mr. Griffin. George, can you take the roll?
Just give me a second, it's reloading. I was adding your name to the. All right. Ms. Stovcek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes, motion carries. At this time, we're going to enter into executive session to,
Consider the employment of a public employee, to consider the discipline of a public employee, and to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes.
can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motioned by Ms. Stovcek, seconded by Mr. Griffin. Any discussion? George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stovcek?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell, I'm sorry.
Yes, motion carries. We'll enter into executive session at 9:50 PM. We don't expect to have any other public business following the meeting, so we are wishing you a very happy holiday season. Thank you for listening.